Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you all for showing up today to start off our new year's. Susan had an idea that before you all leave to take a nice little group picture, and we're going to post it in the newsletter of just, here's our Omega people starting off next year, 2014. So before you all head out of here, we'll just do a little group picture for those of you who weren't prepared. Oh, well. You don't have to look pretty. As a matter of fact, we go get some of their chili and just mash it all over our face. So, as the tradition, every year George has always presented his topic on the numbers. Because 2014, numerically, numeretically, that's what I was thinking of. The numbers, 2 plus 0 plus 1 plus 4 is 7. So he would do the breakdown of the 7. But before I begin on that one, let me just back up. Since this is the first time we're recording for 2014, I'm waving to the camera because this is going to be posted on YouTube. We've been YouTubing our stuff for about 6 months now, has it been?
Longer than that.
Just about 6 months, which has been nice. A little weird because attendance drops in the classroom because you can just watch us on your computer whenever you want. We're playing with the idea of making condensed versions. You know how, is it TED Talks? I've never seen them, but they're like 10-minute sessions. So we're playing with the idea of just making a Monday night workshop as a 10-minute session on the YouTube rather than watching it for the whole hour and a half. Because, there's dyads and stuff on a Monday night workshop, and what do you do when you're sitting and watching on your computer? I mean, fast forward, obviously, but wouldn't it be nice if we could fast forward to life? Fast forward to next year, please. Anyway, that's one of the things that we're contemplating doing this year. And of course, I announced that I was going to publish Omega 8 information today. So my idea on the delivery of the numbers, as well as a little brief idea of the workshop, I want to just go through quickly on what we have happening in January. So next Monday, that's the Monday coming up, there's a Monday night workshop. I published the topic as mental equivalence. This is tied to positive thinking as well as the difference between destiny and fate. I'm not going to go too much into the I'm not going to speak today. Calvinism. Ed, thank you. I'm like, Ed, help me. It's John Calvin, so it's Calvinism. And then the other one, Arminianism, which is, he's the one who says everything's free will. A little bit of that, but mental equivalence, which is basically thinking on positive thinking. I remember when, there's a seat up your head. I remember when George would talk about positive thinking and how some people would sit and go, oh, I'm going to win $1 million. I'm going to win the lottery. I'm going to win the lottery, and it never happened. So he would say, what's the point of positive thinking? You're not going to accomplish, you have to take action. But then he later turned it into the idea of setting a positive mode, vibration, energy in your life. So that's next Monday. Then the following Thursday is an Omega 1. We don't usually publish who the facilitators are, but I'm going to do it this time because it's just me. I usually like to start out the January trainings, but I had a co-facilitator and she can't make it now, so it's just me. So we're just going to, I'll be doing the Omega 1. I'm looking forward to that. I haven't done an Omega 1 by myself in a long time. I've had co-facilitators with me for quite some time. So I'll be doing it, and then we're probably going to record it for facilitators. I shouldn't say that because then people won't show up because you're going to be recorded. So it's just for training purposes. But I'm looking forward to doing that. I haven't done a training by myself in a while. So that's January 9th. Then I have an impact training on the 18th, which is also me. I'm the month of January this year. So the 18th, I'm doing impact training on the Enneagram. How many people have ever or know about the Enneagram or went through the Enneagram with George? All right, please don't expect George's quality. You're going to get my interpretation of it. I've been doing a lot of research on this. I have lots of books now on the different types of readings of the Enneagram. It really is an intriguing topic, and as a matter of fact, I'm thinking of extending it, so I'll do Enneagram 1, and then probably in February I'll do a follow-up, and then March. It's going to take at least 3 impact trainings to have a good understanding of it. The idea I like about the Enneagram is it breaks up personalities into 9 different personality types. And once you know what your personality type is, and who you are compatible with and who you are not, it helps you in the relationships in your life. Learning how to adjust yourself when you're interacting with somebody who you're not very compatible with. And then, of course, the perils of when you're working with somebody you're extremely compatible with, you might lose sight of what's happening. So it's really a good study. People study this stuff for years, and they still don't master it. So I'm just going to take a nice little shot at it. I wanted to take the impact trainings this year and be a little bit more philosophical. Not that we haven't had fun over the last couple of years of doing it. Then the next Monday night workshop on the 20th, that's the 6 basic fears that most human beings experience. Then Omega-2, I just found out I'm going to be doing this by myself as well. So I'll be doing the Omega-2 in January by myself. So I am the month of January. I have everything this month. And then the Omega-4, of course, is February 21st through the 28th. That's a 10-day program. And I know that Andrea said we do have seats in that one too. So if you're interested in attending any other program, or you miss being in the classroom and you want to come and see me for the month, I'll be here every weekend. Now, on the numbers. I had some struggle when I was doing the number, because I know that if you follow astrology, you know that you have a number for your birth date. You also have a number for your name. So those are the 2 predominant numbers in your life, and they influence us on the things that we do, whether it's our destiny, our life purpose, our career. All of them are influenced by our numbers. But I also know that if you have a number and the year has a number, that's going to affect you differently. So, for example, if your name number shows up as an 8, which mine is, and somebody else's name number is a 7, and we go into a year 7, well, it affects us differently, because the 7 and 7 turns out to a 15. 7 and 7 is a 14, which is a 5. The 8 and the 7 is a 15, which is a 6. So we'll be affected differently. So I always struggle, for the last few years, I've struggled on the presentation of the number, because it affects everyone differently. So I did something different this year. I have a 16-page handout. It's 8 pages, double-sided. What I did was I brought on as much information as I could. So you won't need to read all of this information, because most of it is the Chinese calendar. For those of you who know the Chinese calendar, they break their cycles up into 12. There's 12 characters, 12 years. They have a cycle of 12. And for them, the Chinese zodiac signs, their years, so this is the year of the wooden horse. So they implement element, fire, earth, water, wood, and air. So this is the wooden horse year. And then, of course, the characters. And what's intriguing on them is, so I gave a little brief a brief preview of the zodiac, and then each one of the animals that they have, their characters, so you'll have to find, if you don't know your year, there's the years in the beginning. It gives a little brief interview of a synopsis of what each one is, and then how the year 2014 will affect you. So each one is affected differently according to the Chinese calendar. So you'll have all of that with you in there. We were laughing because I know I'm the rabbit and my brother's the dragon. We've looked at this for quite some time. The rabbit is one of the luckiest symbols. It's the most joyful, and it's the best one. But this was funny. So I was on the website, and it has, compatibility. So you type in your name and then your husband's or wife's name, and then it'll come back and show you what your compatibility is. So I typed in mine and Mark's information, and I typed my wrong year in, so it came back as a 70%, and then Mark said, no, you put the wrong year in. And I changed it back to the right year, and it came out as a 50%. It went down. We're a 50% compatibility, which is not bad. It didn't say run quickly. It just said 50%. Obviously a lot of work. Well, not a lot of work, but work when you're in a relationship, which it hasn't been work yet. It's been wonderful. Did that seem believable? It was. It hasn't been work yet. It's wonderful, except that we live in Egypt. But other than that, everything's wonderful. Anyway, if you're interested in that, I actually put the website on here where you could go and check your character, and then you can check your compatibility. So I actually started checking my compatibility with my family members and friends, and then just for fun, I put George in there. We were 90%. It was a perfect match. I'm like, oh, that's nice. He's dead, but thank you. So it was fun. And, I always read it with a grain of salt. because I understand there's so much more involved than just the year that you were born. You have the elements of your parents and their belief systems that they passed down, where you grew up. I mean, as a New Yorker, we have a different flair about ourselves than people in the rest of the world, obviously. So it really, there's so much more involved, the name and the birth date and the time, there's so much more involved. So when you read this, please don't say, this is it, this is how your life is going to be. It's just a general synopsis. So the first I want to go through is just the characteristics of a 7. 7 is a really good number. So the year 2014 turns into a 7. I pulled the page from George's 1998 study group. That's what he did the numerology on. So I pulled a page out of that. The characteristics of a 7, he mentions that 7 is the second most perfect number. It's the spiritual perfection. It marks spiritual perfection. It plays an exceptional large role in the affairs of human beings and is used in the scripture like no other. So I remember he did a good study group on the 7 throughout the Bible and how many references there are of 7s. Now, I'm not a big Bible person. I usually massacre it. But I remember Psalm 119. Was that it? Psalm 119 that's the one he really delved in, and 7 kept showing up in so many different areas of that. He says 7 is also the visible light, of course, in the electromagnetic spectrum. Oh, that's really funny too. We have 7 different categories in the electromagnetic spectrum up on the wall. But then, of course, visible light, that breaks into 7 colors. You have the red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, and violet. So there's your 7 right there, which also represents the 7 different levels of a human being. We have a mental consciousness, an emotional consciousness, physical consciousness, and of course, spiritual, Atman, Monad, and divine. 7 is gracious and, oh gosh, I don't know what this word, A-F-F-A-B-L-E. Affable? It's gracious and affable, which is gracious. So it's gracious. It's sensitive. 7 people are sensitive to their atmospheres, especially to other personalities. They don't mix very well with people not like them, so they're often uncomfortable in group settings. They're seldom active publicly unless it's something that they believe in. 7 carries an air that holds others at a distance. So I should tell you this, that my second number is a 7. I'm an 8 and a 7. Yeah, that's wonderful. So that's why you all have to stay further away from me. We like to be alone. 7 seeks knowledge above all. It has no time for idle talk, which I struggle with idle talk. My mind just, what am I supposed to say? Hi. That's nice, let's go. So frivolous things, and it's amazing how much I see things as being frivolous, like when my son or daughter, stepson or daughter are saying something, I'm just looking up going, yeah, so what's the point? I know you're 11 and I'm supposed to be excited about this, but what? So I struggle with that. 7 doesn't like to waste time, which I don't. I do not like to waste time. 7 has a mystical air underneath its reserved manner. It dominates, but never at the expense of its private time or solace. 7 is frequently drawn to spiritual philosophy and practice. 7 does not always find peace. Though we strive for it, we don't always find peace. Naturally reserved and quiet, it's difficult to express its thoughts and feelings to others. 7 does not easily fit into the ordinary order of life. People who are 7s are orientated to service. They are also involved in invention, science, philosophy, and similar works of that. Very analytical mind, and free to discover new techniques. Now, if you knew George, that defines him right there. But he was a 9, actually. Well, he had a 7 and a 9. 7s can also be considered perfectionists. They're very proud, dignified, and can be charming in a manner and in personality. They're also considered to be very lucky. Number 7 is considered to be a lucky number. I meant to do this, I forgot, I apologize. I was going to go, you know how the lottery, it can tell you what the most drawn numbers are? I meant to look to see if 7 was one of the most drawn numbers. I did discover that number 24 is one of the most drawn Powerballs. Number 24 seems to show up a lot. I shouldn't have told you that. Oopsie, I can share. So 7 is also considered to be very magnetic. So if you have a magnetic personality, people are drawn to you. That is a representation of 7. Now, magnetic doesn't mean, that's another subject. I'm going to do a workshop on that too, so I'll just leave it at that. 7s help and assist people around them. They're very helpful individuals, which is why service is very good for a 7. Sevens are skilled workers. They often gain recognition and distinction for their ability. 7 is good at research, observation, analysis, and calculation. He puts a bold statement in here. There's no reason for a 7 not to succeed. So if you're 7, get with it. You should be succeeding. 7s are good at mathematics, quick with figures and graphs, and analytical enough to excel in law, medicine, surgery, and professorship. How many people in here actually do know what your number is? Most of you don't. Oh, then I'm going to take a side note here, and we'll do a quick little thing on how the numerology works. Numerology is broken up into 9 numbers. Do we have those charts still in the gift shop? I'm sorry, I'm running your TV camera thingy. Okay, so here's how you find out what your numbers are. So it goes A, B, C. You all know the alphabet, right? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, D, N, this is W, O, P, Q, thank you. So I'm doing it this way there. All right, so that's how it breaks up. When you're doing your numerology, you break your number out like that, and here's how the numbers work. This is the 1s, the 2s, the 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s, 7s, 8s, and 9s. So you just take your name, the name that you're given at birth, you take your name, and you break it up. So I'll do mine. So my birth name is Anne Marie. So that's a 1, 5, 5, 4, 1, 9, 9, 5. Sorry, I've done this before, so it's easy. Then Catherine. And finally my last name. I'm Italian, can you tell? So that's a 3, 1, 2, 9, 5, 9. Sorry, that's an 8. 9, 5, 5, and then that's a 3, 1, 1, 6, 9, 9, 1. Now, George said one of the easiest things to do is get rid of the 9s because 9s will always cancel out. 9 plus any number equals the same number. So 9 plus 1 is a 10, 1 and a 0 is a 1. 9 plus 2 is an 11, 1 and a 1 is a 2. So he said to usually cancel 9s out. I'm not going to do that just to give you an idea. So my first name comes to 11. Well, the first part of my first name. That's a 10, that's a 9. Math. I'm not good at math.
19, 24, 6.
26.
Oh, 24, 30.
So that's a 5, 10, and an 18, 28.
You're a 7. You're supposed to be good at that.
It's my second. So it's a 5, a 10, that's a 19, 28. Okay. So then when you put the two of them together, that's a 10 and a 2, so that's a 12, so that's a 3. So my first name comes out, did you see how I did that? That comes out to a 2. This comes out to a 10, which equals a 1. So then I have a 2 and a 1, that's a 3. So my first name is a 3. Oh God, okay. 10, 20, 30, 39, 44, 45, 46, 47, which equals an 11. An 11, which is a 2. So, but the thing that George really brought out, which is good, is I have a double number there, which is an 11. I have another double number, 11 too. 11s are a really good number. And I'm not saying it just because it's mine. 11s are a good number. And then right here I have 10, 20, 26, 27, 30. So my last name is a 3. So then I have a 3, a 2, and a 3, which is an 8. So my birth name is an 8. Now, I don't remember exactly if the birth name is the purpose or the destiny of an individual, but that's my number. So an 8, which in the Enneagram comes out as the boss, naturally. That was a joke. That's how you find your number. So the way, if you wanted to figure out your number, you do the same thing, just break this out. Now, if you're a 7, then that's what I'm defining today is the 7. Next year will be an 8 year, which will be a year which I will relate to more. So if you're a 7, you'll relate to this year. But that's how you can find your number. That's a quick quick little way. There's another way that you can do it where you break out the vowels, and it depends on how many vowels you have in your name.
Yeah.
And if you have like more than one A, like if your name starts with an A, or a vowel, that's something. But an A, if you have more than one A in the name, that also represents something. So there's so much information about this. This is just a brief overview. I wonder if I added Geyer to my name, what does that turn me into? What's a Geyer? 7? G-E, so it's 7, 10, 17, and then a 9 is a 26,
But that's not your birthday.
and a Y. No, but if you add a name, it changes your name. So for the women who add another husband's name to it, it actually changes your numbers, so it affects you. Not so drastically, but to find your original number, that's it. And then depends on how long you've had your married name versus your maiden name. So it's funny because my dad's like, are you going to change your name? And no, because I like the number of my name. I don't want to change it. But I didn't say that to him. I said, no, I'm going to keep it. He's like, yeah, you should be proud of your last name. I'm like, nobody knows my last name. I never use it, Dad. But okay, no problem. Anyway, so what I'm defining are the 7. So if you're a 7, this list goes with you. So that's the 7. Now, I'll also do this. It's easy for a 7 to build a protective wall of silence. They do really good on silence. When it's safe to do so, they emerge with charm. 7 really rarely ever changes or is reformed. 7 always wants what's best or wants nothing at all, which is funny. I want what I want or I don't want anything. That doesn't define me at all. Starbucks. Anyway, that's the 7s. Now, I went online to a website. I apologize, I thought I had this website on here, but I don't. I have a different website. This website where they gave a numerological perspective for the year. Overall, this is what 2014 is going to look like for us. So I put that website on there if you wanted to look on this one. He said the number 7 is ruled by the moon's descending node key 2. Number 7 is a seeker, the thinker, searcher of truth, and is considered a magic number and associated closely with mysticism. This implies that the year 2014 will be very unusual and an exciting year. It'll make people aware to understand the hidden truths of life. It'll also make people feel that nothing is exactly as it appears. Now, so far, I'm like, this could be used for any year, really? You can't really define what the year's going to be in. Nothing usually ever is what it appears to be, except for Starbucks. Maybe, although sometimes that's not what I get. I'll order one and I'll get a different, that's not my Starbucks. Many surprises await mankind this year. Some of them may not be so pleasant. It's impossible, or it is possible, that more than one crisis may unfold in the year 2014. Obamacare. Sorry. It will be a year of transformation, consolidation, and change for the better. Good news is not all people change. Not everything will change will bring problems. Some things will be nice too, pleasant, which of course this could be for anything. The year 2014 may also challenge people to remain focused and directed. That's what I'm being challenged with right now. We just started. Oh no, I have a whole year to go. While they may feel pulled in many different directions, it may be difficult for them to maintain their cool, especially when others are trying to get more from them, and they may feel like they're not giving enough. 2014 is a year of introspection and to think about life. Evaluate the experiences of one that one have made gains. I'm not going to go anymore. You can read all of this. What I wanted to do was really go to the Chinese calendar. So everyone's going to have a copy of this, so you don't worry about that. The Chinese calendar, this is the one that breaks up into 12 cycles. So I'm going to read just the year of the horse, because that's what it is right now. And then when you get these, you can look and see. As I said, it'll state the item when I read it through the year of the horse. It gives you the horse itself, a perspective of what the horse is, and then an overview of what the year will be. Then it talks about your career, your wealth, the relationships, and health, which are 4 areas most people are intrigued about. So the year of the horse, the overview, year of the horse, is the god in charge of people's fortunes. So Taya Sui, excuse me if I butchered that, is in charge of this year. Their fortune, all aspects of fluctuant, which will be fluctuating, which requires great care. So many people may stress out, in which case they're suggested to self-adjust by talking more to others or taking part in group activities. Come to Omega. We'll talk about the trials of how money is not working. Upon any difficulties, they should be strong to overcome them. And if they treat people well, friendly, and behave righteously, their year will be smooth. So be nice to people and you'll have a nice year. The career. For horse people, they're easily offended this year, even for the trifles, and seem not to keep a harmonious relationship with colleagues. So if you're a horse person, you're going to have a hard time at work. You're going to be upset a lot. Sometimes they doubt themselves too much and gradually short on confidence. When finishing a task, they ask people around them to confirm again and again and again. So doubt is going to come into your mind. If you're a horse person, doubt's going to come into your mind. Just keep a low profile and get along with the boss, and get along well with your boss, and be careful of tricks by mean people. And then they will make some achievements in their job. Now, I find this intriguing, since I did type all this up. There's a lot in here for a lot of different characters about being deceived by mean people. So this seems to be the year that the mean people are going to be trying to take advantage of other individuals. So it's not just horse people. I had a lot in mine as well. It says be careful, be wary, keep your head down, and don't keep a low profile because there's going to be people out there trying to take advantage of you. So it seems like this is the year that will happen. For a horse person, their wealth, your financial fortune, will be unstable in 2014. Seems that there will be much unexpected costs. Thus, to make ends meet comes when managing money matters. They should consider accepting other suggestions. So it's necessary to be careful to make any investment. Business people should make a full scheme of before investing a large amount of money because the market will be changing throughout the year. Relationships. However, this is going to be good for you if you're a horse person. The fortune of love life for horse people will be, sorry, I lied. It'll be just so-so. If they would like to get married in a year, it's strongly suggested to select an auspicious date according to the dates of birth of the bride and the groom. Hey, we didn't do that, did we? Oops. Or they will suffer a lot in marriage. Singles may meet several people that they have feelings for, but none of them are doomed to be their Mr. and Mrs. Right.
Doom.
Yeah, isn't that funny? It's called doomed. None of them will be doomed. If standing in dilemma, it'd be better to refer to the idea of suggestion of the relationships and friends. Husband and wife will argue a lot in this year to avoid which communication and mutual understanding ways. For all lovers, mutual trust is the secret for an everlasting relationship. And then finally, the health. If you're a horse person, this is what the year will unfold. You're going to suffer some discomforts. This isn't a good year for you people. Some insidious diseases like dermatosis may happen. To avoid that, they better have a full physical exam. Besides, they also need to be careful to avoid unexpected injuries by knives and other sharp items. Although I will say this, my brother was making knishes the other day, and I walked into the living room and he had like 4 bandages on. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, potatoes, onions. And I'm like, oh my gosh, 7 pounds of potatoes. I'm like, oh, alrighty then. But it looks funny, he's got the Superman band-aids on, because my stepson, so he's got Superman on his fingers. So it's going to be good food. Anyway, be careful of knives and sharp items. Females should pay attention to problem in the urinary system, and males need to be more careful about their stomach. Adjusting their emotions and traveling outside will help with their health. They also need to remember not to eat too much for each meal. So that's what the horse comes out to. As I said, each of you, you'll have this, so you'll have in a moment. I'm going to hand these out. What you'll see is the years. Now, the Chinese calendar doesn't start in January. It starts in February. So what you'll see is from February to January of the certain years. So you just have to look and see what yours is. On the horse one, I highlighted it so that you knew that this is the year that we're in. It's back down in here. So you just look for the year that you were born in, and that'll tell you what your sign is. And then you can read along with that. So who has those? Cinda, why don't we just hand those out right now quickly so you guys can take a look at that. Go.
You put it flat, she didn't hear that.
So as I said, the Chinese calendar starts on the second page. The years of the rat is the first one. That's the first characteristic. That's the first one in the Chinese calendar zodiac. First animal. Then you have the ox. Then the year of the tiger. The rabbit. The dragon. Then you have the snake. Of course, the horse, which I read already. Then there's the sheep. Bah. And then the monkey, the rooster, the dog, the pig. Do I do the ram yet? No, it ends on the pig. Oh, the ram is the sheep, just so you know. And Susan needs one. That's okay. Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Make room right here. Want to make room in the middle?
If you want to, yeah. You want to just scoot in there? Perfect. So you can just check and see which animal you are, and then that's what your forecast is. Again, as I said, please just read with a grain of salt. May or may not be as accurate. Cinda is printing up additional ones for you. As a matter of fact, here, you can just take mine. She's just printing it on right now. Here you go. You're welcome. Susan, do you know what you are? What are you?
I'm a 4 with Lahargo and a 7 with Rustler.
No, I meant Chinese.
Oh,
town.
I'm a snake.
You're the snake. Okay.
Right on.
I'm a rooster.
Cock-a-doodle-doo.
Jennifer understood that since you know how well I do with snakes.
Oh, you do? Oh, very good.
No, I'm terrified.
Oh, very good. That's why people are afraid of you.
Yes, I'm okay with that.
Anybody in here a horse person yet? You want to admit it? Oh, we have no horse people. That's good.
How do you find that? You just find your date of birth?
Yeah, you just look for your date of birth.
The year.
What year were you born?
57.
57. So it goes by 12. If I'm a rabbit, yeah, you're a rooster.
You got your wish.
See? Maybe come true.
We'll explain later.
So if your birth year is not in there, I think it's you just add 12 to your birth year until you get into the sign. But everyone's year should be in there. I don't think there's anybody too old in here. So Jordan, what are you?
I'm a 6
A
with a
6?
7 here.
Okay, so what animal do you show up as?
I haven't come across the date yet. I was born in 34.
34, so you just have to back out. So 34 is not in there yet? I'm trying to remember what George was.
It's a rooster.
He's a rooster too?
Oh, wait, that's,
No.
no.
Me.
Your horse?
Yeah.
We have one horse.
Your dog.
I'm sorry to say that, Robert. Have a safe travels back to Spain.
So from February 34 to February 35 is the year of the dog.
So you're a dog?
Yes.
People don't know this, but Jordan and I have the same birthday. I never met anybody born on the same birthday as me. And then Michael Desi. So there's 3 of us who have the same birthday.
And that's the 7th?
No, I was born May 19th.
Oh, I thought that's what you said when you were 7.
Oh, yes, my birthday is a 7th. So you should have a 7th. No, your year changes though. So what is your birthday?
May 19th,
Right, but the year.
34.
34. It's a 7 and a 8. So you're an 8. That's funny.
Well, I arrived at the Enneagram by a different method.
Oh,
We were to read all of the different signs.
Yeah.
And that which we most identified with would be us. We could change it if we decided another sign was more pertinent.
yeah. And so you went with the 7?
6.
6.
It was a 7 one.
6 with a 7. Okay.
I have a question on that.
Yes.
If on my birth certificate, my name was spelled wrong,
Yeah.
what do I go with?
That's a good question because this came up with me because I don't have a dash on my birth certificate and my dad wanted an E after the Ann. So he was writing Ann with an E, but on my birth certificate it's an Ann. So I went with the way it was spelled on the birth certificate. I think that's the way it should be. But is that But if it was misspelled, and that's the only document that you have that it's misspelled in?
Yeah, it was L-E-Y instead of L-Y. And
So they added an E?
They added an E.
Kim, I would do it both ways and see what happens.
Okay.
See, and then read up on the different numbers and see which one fits you. But I'm gonna say if it's spelled wrong, I wouldn't go with that. I would go with the way you spell it.
Wait, I saw it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we were laughing when we were doing this. I said to George, "What do I put for the dash?" Because it takes a space. It is a character. So what do I put for the dash? And we looked through, and I went and looked at different symbols and everything, and I just resolved it's a 0. I'm just gonna leave it as an
And
empty
I asked him
space.
because of my middle name, his reply was, you and Andrew.
Yeah. But he said it was appropriate that I had the dash because it broke up my 11. So I have an 11 in the beginning and then Marie's in the back. So he thinks it's appropriate that it's there.
What happens on juniors or your stuff with that, like second, third, or fourth?
The junior, because he is a junior, remember George
Yeah,
Washington
right.
Dare Jr.? He just did the JR. He didn't spell out the junior. Oh, that's George.
Yeah, George?
Yeah, you all don't
Oh,
know
did
that,
it
but
again, too.
when we hear a doorbell ring around here, there's usually nobody at the front door. We always say it's George. He's
How do you handle the Roman numerals then?
I would just go with, so the Roman
Like, my cousin Dean's the third, he asked me, I
he's
don't
the
know.
third. So it would either be spell out the word third. I would say probably spell out the word third, or it's 3 I's, which is 3 nines, which doesn't really do anything.
Oh, hell, love that.
Yeah.
Probably won't call my cousin back today.
All right, so y'all have yours and you can look at this. I wanted to spend the rest of the time talking to you about omega-8. How many people are interested in doing omega-8? How many people have done omega-4 so far? Oh, there's a bunch of you in here, okay. And so when I said you're interested in doing omega-8, Anita's hand did not go up?
I did.
Oh, okay, I wasn't sure I saw that. So omega-8, as you know, I've been working diligently on attempting to get this thing put together. When George and I were putting together omega-4, he wanted to do a training that would end all trainings. And then we discovered that there's so much information on omega-4, it's too overwhelming. So I'm actually rewriting omega-4's material so that a bunch of stuff is going to be taken out, and then I'm going to expand on some other information. So those of you who went through omega-4 already, you're not missing out on anything. And those of you who haven't gone through it yet, you're still not missing out on anything because I'm moving this stuff to omega-8, where we can really spend a little bit more time working on it. The dynamics of omega-4, we wanted to do something different. We didn't want to do just a 4-day program. And in the past, those of you who are old enough, you'll remember we used to do 5-day programs. Ed, were you here when we did a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? It was a long time. We did 5-day programs. We used to do a Wednesday night, a Thursday night, all day Friday, a Friday night, and then all day Saturday, all day Sunday.
Somebody argued with me saying he never did that.
Oh, no.
So I'm glad you just brought that
In the
up.
90s, it was in the early
Yeah.
90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did that long. And then when we reopened, he shut down in 93, we reopened as a 4-day program. But originally he had it as a 5-day program. So when we came up with the idea for the omega-4, we decided since he originally started with the 5-day program, we would double it and make it a 10-day program, and that's what we have. Except you're not in the classroom for 10 days. Those of you who know, you're here Friday night, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. Monday through Thursday, you're on your own with daily assignments and weekly tasks. Then you return Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So my first thought was omega-8, I don't want to do a month program. So how do I make this work? And I'm sorry, I don't mean I don't want to do a month program. It's like, how do I get that in a month? So we've been a little creative. So I have 2 things I want to talk to you about. The first thing is I can give you the structure. The structure of omega-8, I've decided, is going to be a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you're on your own. Then you're back in the classroom Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to emulate the first omega-1s that we did. Then, because there's information and we wanted to get you prepared, a month before the program begins, you'll be contacted and you will have assignments to do for an entire month to get you prepared for omega-8. What I've become aware of is, in omega-4, you have an interview. Mike sits you down, he talks to you, and he tells you to read the omega-1 book, your omega-2 book. He'll challenge you, because Mike loves to do that. And then he'll suggest either come back to omega-1 or omega-2. And then by the time you show up for omega-4, you should have already been acquainted with what you did in omega-1, omega-2, or delta-1, delta-2, and read George's book, just to have an idea. But my experience has been that some people read it right then and there, and their interview might be a month or two before, and then when they show up for the 4, they've forgotten some stuff. So I really want to have people prepared and ready to go. And that's why we came up with the idea. 1 month, exactly 1 month from the day that you start, you will have a task to do. Now we'll have an interview process as well. And I will be doing this one because Mike hasn't done the program yet, so it'll be an interview with me. Probably Susan and Mark too. We're just going to be a panel because they're going to be my staff. So just that, you'll get a panel of people, and then we'll be the panel of facilitators who will get the next group. And we'll question you, give you your tasks, and then the day where the month begins, that's when you start. And you're going to have to check in with us because I want to make sure you're doing your work. So that's part of it's also about integrity. I want to make sure that everyone, when you say you're going to do it, you're going to do it. So when you show up the day to be here, you're already prepped. That takes care of the generally, like, okay, let's get going. The second thing I want you to be aware of is we toyed with this idea in Omega 4. Mark, George and I toyed with it. And so I've talked with Mark and Susan and the facilitators about this. I think I'm going to do it. The first weekend, you show up on Friday, you will not leave until Sunday afternoon. We're keeping you. Your hours. Now, we haven't figured out the logistics of this yet. Of course, if we're in a new location, that will be different. But we have considered possibly going to another location. Like I've taken teen trainings up into Prescott where they have cabins and whatnot, and there's a cafeteria. So we might do that for the first weekend and then continue down here. We haven't decided yet exactly what I'm going to do. But my intention is that I want to break your sleep cycle. I want to break your habits, and I want to have you 100% here. So when you're here, you're here. Now, it's going to be a challenge for some people, especially if you have children, people who are dependent on you. You're going to have that worked out. That's why I'm letting you know ahead of time. So it will be a Friday night you show up. We're actually going to block the windows and stuff, so you can't even go outside to smoke. So for those of you who are smokers, you're going to be challenged as well. You might have to have the electronic cigarettes or something to help you maintain. As far as meals are concerned, yeah, you're all like swerving now. Oh, I knew this program. As far as the meals are concerned, we're considering having you all bring it. We'll provide breakfasts, but you'll have to bring in lunch and dinner for yourself, so you'll have a place to put it. We've been thinking about the logistics of, possibly just buying 20 or so of those single mattresses, like the thin little mattresses, so people can lay it. Like we'll set up a dorm room, but not everybody can do that. So we haven't worked out the logistics yet, but that's something I'm really actually looking forward to doing. There's many teachings that talk about studying in the middle of the night, after midnight. They say the prime time to study is between midnight and sunrise. There's something about the energy because most people are sleeping, so there's not much more distraction. The TVs aren't on, people aren't really texting, so there's not frequency. I'm not trying to be all that, but you understand about the electromagnetic spectrum. There's less frequency happening from midnight to sunrise. So that's our desire. We want to get you in the mode of practicing studying in the middle of the night. It's a hard thing to do. Mark and I have actually been doing this. We've been practicing a little over a month now. Get up in the middle of the night, which most of you who know me, I don't sleep through the night anyway, so I just get up and read. So, and that's what we've been doing, and it's actually been quite challenging, but beneficial. I actually feel it's valuable. I find a great deal of value to it. So I've been gleaning through some of George's material as well, and there'll be specific things that you'll be reading, and of course you'll be discussing it with your group. So that's just logistic-wise. That's the first weekend. The second weekend I'm toying with doing a silent day where you can't speak, because that's a discipline. That is one of the disciplines where there's no speaking, it's all internal. So on the second weekend I'm considering, I think it's a Saturday, we have it that it's complete silent day from the moment you walk in until you leave. There's no speaking. I'll be the only one talking, and that'll be at a minimal. Lots of service, things that we're going to be doing in the classroom, practicing. It really is the idea of practicing the things we've been talking about. The values, love, truth, trust, and giving. The virtues, the 24 virtues, the 24 virtues that Torquem listed. Practicing those virtues, contentment, reticence, diligence, liberty, stability, striving. All of those to put in implementation. Also, I'm going to bring in some of the material that since you all haven't been through Omega 4, I can't express that, but there's a meditation, there we go, I'm going to extend the meditative process, and there's a lot more information, which I indicated in the last Omega 4, a lot more information that I've not delivered to you for the specific things that you do in the meditation. That will be extended. Once the program ends, it just ends in the classroom. I'm also going to request that for the next 5 months, we meet on a Saturday for 3 to 4 hours to reconnect and again, reestablish what I wanted to do is establish a group consciousness outside of the classroom. So the first Omega 8 will be working for a total of 6 months. The month before the program and 5 months after the program. You won't have daily tasks after the program because I honestly am not available to maintain that, but you will have weekly tasks. And as I said, we'll meet once a month on a Saturday, once a month, for just the Omega 8 group. Then, that first Omega 8, since we're only doing it once a year, the first Omega 8 group will be responsible for maintaining and taking care of the next Omega 8 group. It'll be your job to take care of that. So providing meals, pillows and mattresses, whatever needs to happen. We're also compiling a list of, when you go to school and they tell you here's the requirements for the classroom, you need these books and spiral notebooks and pencils and pens. So we're compiling a list of things that you will need, supplies. You will get your supply list when you come to your interview. On the supply list, we'll tell you, here's what we're going to do. We're going to provide the 3-ring binders, but I'm going to ask everyone else, you'll get lists. I don't want to disclose that. But you're going to do a lot of journaling, and they'll be journaling in 3 different areas. So you'll have 3 different journal books in addition to the information we're handing off to you. My job right now has been to cipher and sift through. I have more information than I can deliver, so I don't think this is going to be the last program. But I have a feeling that a lot of the information I won't be able to put into the program will be used for the next 5 months. So when we meet on those Saturdays, I will be able to present additional information to tie it all up together. I'm really hesitant about delivering this, but I'm also excited. I like the idea of having a group consciousness and a group of people working on the same thing for 6 months. There's something about that that is appealing to me. I also don't want to set people up to fail. I don't want someone to come to a program and then you can't continue on for the 5 months. So I don't want to put that out there. So I'm very cautious about that, but I really want to present it, and that will be clearly discussed in your interview on what's going to be required to do this. Omega 8 is not just another program just to go to because you've been through 1, 2, and 4. Omega 8 is a lifestyle change. I'm just going to tell you that. It's a lifestyle change. You've been doing this work. George has introduced you to the teachings. Those of you who've been around forever and a day, you know this work. It's about the teachings. And this is what I wanted to finally end up with. I've been reviewing the 1990 study group, the very first study group that George presented. He did not know what he was starting when he started the study groups. It turned into a beautiful legacy of 8 full-year courses that he delivered. The 1990 study group, he has a sheet of paper in here called the Overview of the Teachings. And when I read this, I actually read this last night. When I read this, I thought this really hits it on the head of what I want to do for Omega 8. So if you'll bear with me, I just want to read this to you. The overview of the teachings. So often, the teachings are looked upon as something relative to the future. This is semi-appropriate in that it is generally taught that all philosophy is geared to prepare for death. Others who are less, I don't know this word, did you look it up, Mark?
I didn't.
Intelligent, we'll say, in their approach to learning, may consider the teachings to be a relic from the past. This too has been a certain element of truth and has valuable consideration. However, if we depart from personal opinions and teachings, if we depart from personal opinions and listen to the teachings themselves, we find a treasury of material that in every sense is applicable for today. In fact, the material that constitutes the ageless wisdom fits precisely into the here and now. The truth is perennially present. Then he lists some of the nuggets of understanding gleaned from the teachings. So the do's and the know and not know. To know and not do. Here's the big thing. It has been said that the most destructive of all human behaviors is to know what to do and to not do it. I agree with that. When you know what to do and you don't do it, that eats away at you. Until finally you get yourself so unconscious you don't even feel it anymore. This constitutes much more than a comprise of values. It sets in motion subtle forces within the individual that results in numerous problems. So here's a list of things that happen to people when you know what to do and you don't do it. You begin to have a loss of personal power, loss of magnetism and charisma, loss of inner seeing and inner hearing, so not connecting with your guidance, loss of intimacy in relationships, leads to exploitation of others. You incarnate into a difficult next life, so the next time round, it's going to be more, you're going to be a wooden horse. You have loss of values, loss of perspective of self and others. That's all what can occur when you know what to do and you're not doing it. So when I read that, I gasped for a moment. Because I thought of we have close to 70,000 people now who've been through this program. How many of them have been taught what to do and they're not doing it? So I feel the burden on that because we're the ones who delivered the information. Perhaps we didn't deliver it with stringency of, you need to do this, but I also know everyone has their own consciousness and makes your own choices. But that's a big weight. I would say that's a great weight to know that you know what to do and you're not doing it. When Mike does the interviews for Omega-4, he's astounded that some people don't even understand integrity. He sits and scratches his head and says, some people thought integrity was just for us to punish people, like the broken agreements. It was just to punish people. Like they don't get the idea of integrity. So that's astounding to me. Now, the purpose of the teachings, and this is what I was struggling on, how do I talk about the material in Omega-8, and this is beautiful. So the purpose of the teachings is to teach us how to love, to teach us how to serve, to lead us to a loss of self-interest, to increase joy, to increase freedom, and to teach us how to lead. That's the purpose of the teachings. Simple. Simply said, not easily done. The teachings are active on all levels of being, and then he lists 2 categories which can simplify the lower and the higher. So those of you who've been here, you understand we have a lower self and a higher self. So the benefits of doing the teachings on the lower self is you feel good, you enjoy life, your finances improve, your relationships improve, you have less stress, and you have better health. On the higher realms, the benefits of doing the teachings or implementing the teachings is it changes your belief system. So you break free from old belief systems, improves your attitude, expands your service to others. You have an increase of self-mastery on all levels, self-sacrifice and self-forgetfulness, so it's not about you anymore, it's about the collective whole. That you see yourself and others more clearly, and it's increased service overall. In many ways, the teachings monitor and police themselves. It is fruitless to think that you can master them, because they can master you. That's how it works. The teachers master you. We're all under this illusion that I'm in control of my life. And I remember a story George used to talk about, how if you were on a ship headed to England, you're on a luxury cruise, you can do anything you want, go to any floor you want, eat as much as you want, sleep as much as you want, travel around the ship as much as you want, and you have a sense of freedom. But you're on a ship that's going to England. There is no freedom there. The direction is already gone. We could sit and say, we are freedom. Really? We're the United States of America, which is on the North Continent, which is on the planet Earth. We're not free to go travel off to Mars or Jupiter. Like, we are limited. But we have this idea that we're so stuck to freedom, where freedom is actually an inner journey. So the concept of freedom and surrendering to something greater, higher than us. I recently read something where George talked about the necessity of paying homage or having something to pray, inspire, or what's the word, Mark? It was to, I want to say pay homage, but that's not the correct word. But it's important that we have something that inspires, like we either pray to God or a higher self or a statue or something that's outside of ourselves to remind us that there's more to us than us. So
worship.
Worship, thank you. It's important that we have something to worship. Now, there are those who worship sex, drugs, and alcohol. And you know where their life is headed. There are those who worship the teachings, and their life is headed in a different direction. There are those who worship money, those who worship relationships. I mean, you could add the word worship to anything. So obviously it's going to go with the vibration, where you put your attention and vibration to as well. So the concept of the teachings is to worship something outside of me, to recognize that I am not in control of everything. I'm in control of one thing and one thing only. What is that? My decisions?
Yourself.
Myself?
This is salt.
I'm testing you people. We talked about this at Omega. No, we didn't. Oh, look.
Your cell phone.
He knows. I'm in control of my cell phone. Well, you can boil this down to, you could say I'm in control of myself, I'm in control of my thoughts, my actions, my being, my place. But when I think about what am I really in control of? I'm not really in control of my body. My body works on its own. I'm not sitting there going, okay, breathe, inhale, exhale, inhale, pump the blood in, pump. I'm not in charge of that. My body is running itself. So I can literally say I'm not in control of any part of my lower self. So that's the physical, the emotional, and the mental. Strange, you say, that you're not in control of your thoughts? Really? Try meditating and not have your mind drift. Try focus on one thing and not have your mind start thinking of something else. We're not in control of our minds. We're under the illusion that we are. So I can see that I am not in control of my physical, my emotional, and my mental. Then intuition comes into play. That's the bridge. Can I control my intuition? I'm not sure. I don't sit there and say, give me the intuition. Intuition seems to show up, not when I call for it. It kind of happens when I'm in the moment. Then I have the higher levels. Well, I can't even define the higher levels, so I'm not even aware that I'm in control of those. So if I look at everything, the only thing I'm in control of is where I place my attention. That's it. Wherever I place my attention. That's the only thing I'm in control of. Because I know, right now I'm looking at James. Right now I'm looking at Kim. I know I'm doing this. So I'm aware of where I'm placing my attention. I was distracted and I looked at my phone. My attention went here. That was it. So I'm aware the only thing I can control is my attention. Now, if I get to that point where I'm aware the only thing I'm in control of my attention, then it is my responsibility to place my attention on the things that I am in, that I am in alignment. He's wishing you Happy New Year. To place my attention on the things that I'm in alignment to. My life purpose, the numbers that we did. It could be my life purpose. That's the key. It's so simple and yet so difficult to do. And that's my desire for Omega 8, is to wipe clean everything that you think you have control over. Your physical, emotional, and mental. Being trapped in here for 3 days, oh, no, what if it, and the what ifs happen. What if I got to go to the bathroom, or what if I have this, what if that, the diet, yeah, you're not in control of that anyway. So my job, my goal for Omega 8 is to try to break you free from everything you think you're in control of and get it down to the basic, simple thing of your attention. And then once you have that, once you understand that, your responsibility of what you do with it. Essentially, what do you do with your life? So as I stated before, Omega 8, it is not a joyride. It is a change of life. It's a life experience. It's a change of a way of being. Once you complete Omega 8, it is my desire that you step into the realm of a student, an initiate of the teachings. That you actually employ this list. That this list becomes a part of your life. That's my desire. Not to say that it's better than an Omega 4, because it's not. It's just a continuation of Omega 4. There is a lot of information that we could have put into Omega 4 because we knew we were limited with our time. So my projection right now is I had given myself the goal that if I didn't have Omega 8 written and completed by the end of the year, I'm not going to deliver it. Well, I didn't get it done. So what I want to do right now is put it on a back burner, because the next thing is most important is we need to find a building. Those of you who don't know, Evelyn was George's wife. She owns this building. She had another stroke. So if she gets one more stroke and dies, we're out of the place, because her family will not continue the setup that we have here. So my focus has to be right now. I've got to stop Omega 8, and I've got to focus on finding a new building. Not to say that I'm not giving up on Omega 8, I'm still striving for it. We have it on the schedule for June. Is it June?
July.
We have it for July. We've got it up there, so it's on the schedule, but I can't commit to it right now. I wanted to give you guys a preview of it because I promised that to you, and I'm still intending to be able to deliver it, but I'm up against the time factor right now. And since I've just discovered I'm doing all of January, I won't have any time in January to work on Omega 8, so I will not be able to get back to it until February. So, with that, what I'm going to do is ask for some assistance on this. Dean's been pretty good about this. If you are aware of any locations around town that you think we would work in, please send the information here so we can start looking at it. We do not need as much space as we have. We can certainly get by with a lot smaller space. In Omega in Canada, we used to travel. We had like 5 bins that we brought with us everywhere we did in hotels. So if we have to do that, we could. We'll condense everything down, just get a storage locker, and we'll talk about that for unfinished business. But we'll get a storage locker and put all our stuff in there, and then just do a traveling Omega and just have the room when we need a room. The Monday night workshops, as I said, the numbers have been decreasing, but I don't really mind that because if we don't have a building, I could still do the Monday night workshops in our living room and just do it on YouTube. We're working on trying to make it be a live stream so that people can actually interact while they're doing it, so you don't have to come to a building if we don't have a building. So all of that is put into play right now. So if we lose the building, Omega's not closing down, we just don't have a permanent place to go to. We'll just have to keep people updated and let you know where we're going to be located. But again, as I stated, if you know of or hear of anyone that has like a conference room or 2 conference rooms or a location or a building that would be workable, my desire is that we're not right on the street because that traffic has a tendency to disrupt things at times. Those of you who've been in that other room, you can hear the fire engines go by, especially during the red black game. That's fun. And then, again, as I said, we don't need to have this big of a space. This has been wonderful. It's been a blessing, but we don't need this much space. We can get by with half of what we have here. So, what is it, 50,000 here? What's the square footage? Does anybody know? It's 100 feet from the street to this side.
It's 4,000, I think it's like 4,500.
Yeah, we're 4,500. So we can get away with 3,000. I'd say we get away around with 3,000 square feet. So keep your eyes and ears open. If you hear anything, send it in to us. Any questions about Omega 8 before I dismiss the subject? Have I scared you all?
Is there a list, like there was before?
I'm not sure if Andrea set it up yet because this is the first time I'm publishing it, but I'll make sure she puts it in there to,
It is.
there is? Okay. The one thing I should say, there is one requirement though. You cannot get into an Omega 8 unless you have completed an Omega 4 and received your plaque. If you did an Omega 4 and did not get a plaque, and those of you who've been through, you know what I'm talking about. If you did not get a plaque, you must return to your Omega 4. You can only attend Omega 8 if you have that plaque within your hand. So that's actually going to be something you need to bring to your interview so we know you have it. We haven't been keeping track of it because we didn't know we were going to use it, but now we have been keeping track of it. But the earlier Omega 4s people, you're going to need to know that. So yes, the list, I would say call in and they'll just put you on the list and let you know when the interview process will start. Any other questions? Do you think it's too much? Do you like the idea?
Yeah.
Okay. Did I scare anybody? Darn. I always scare you, Ed. Well, thank you all for coming out today. I really do appreciate it. I like starting the New Year out. I actually like the New Year better than the New Year's Eve celebration because I was always nervous driving on New Year's Eve anyway. So I liked starting the first day of the year out in the Omega family.